At Clarity Corner with Christiana, we peel back the layers that are clouding your ability to see and show you ways you can reclaim your life and your communication. It's not what you know, it's what you implement that makes all the difference. Welcome to Clarity Corner with Christiana. It is so great to be here with you this week. So welcome. So the whole focus of this show is finishing the year strong. And I've been looking around at what other people are putting out there for ending the year. And they have all these amazing strategies and come take this course and get everything mapped out, all these different things. However, the one thing that I haven't noticed or I haven't seen is that, first of all, we're all overwhelmed. Before we know it, it's like Halloween just happened. You walk in the store, they don't even acknowledge Thanksgiving anymore. Now it's straight on to Christmas. So what I'm asking you is, what have you achieved your goals for 2021? Have you? If you have, oh my God, congratulations, way to go. But if not, I've been talking and working with my clients, and what I've found is that people are more stressed out, run down, overwhelmed, anxious, feeling like they're falling behind, even procrastinating. And if that's you, you're not alone and you're in the perfect place. So today's show, I'm not going to add really anything to your plate. You don't need to add another skill or anything like that. Today's show is about removing things. Well, what does that mean? Let's have a deeper look. When I've been organizing for over 2 decades. And during that time, anytime you go into a physical space, it's usually flooded, right? It's usually overwhelmed. So when you walk into a space, the first thing that you have to do is you have to create space. If you don't have any room to work, how can you even move or navigate? So if you're already stressed out, overwhelmed, frustrated, then all that simply means is that you have too many things open. What does that mean? That means, think about on your computer, if you have all the tabs open on your computer, if you have like 50, 60 tabs open on your computer is going to be slower. The processing is going to go down. You're going to have delays with your video calls. And at some point, your computer is going to stop functioning at its optimum level. And if you're not hitting your goals and you're stressed out and you're overwhelmed, then that may be you now. So today, what we're going to do is explore how can we take that off how can we create that necessary space? Usually when people are feeling like they're overwhelmed, stressed out, or frustrated, what they do is they add more to their plate. They'll take a course, they'll take on a new protocol, they'll try a new habit, or they'll look at adding a skill or something like that. But what we're going to do is we're going to empty. So the first thing is we're going to take open cycles. Open cycles is basically anything that you've started but you haven't completed. It's like that never-ending to-do list in your head of all the things that you're juggling. So if you think of it this way, we have 100 attention units. This is how it was explained to me, and it made perfect sense. Let's say we only have 100 units of attention, like hooks. And every time we have something left open, we put something on the hook so we can't use it. Well, let's say you have 50 hooks for things that are managing in your work. So you're like, oh, I have to do this. And so all the different little things that you have to do are all taken up. Then you have maybe another 20 for what you want to do personally, right? And everything that you're doing. Maybe it's things that you're looking at, like maybe hobbies that you have or projects that you're working on or something like that. Then you have your family. So maybe you have another 25 for that. And then you have maybe odds and ends that are coming up. What I've noticed with most of my clients is we're all at maximum capacity. And what happens is that's when we stop being efficient. That's when we start slowing down. And there's a parable that I love, and you may have heard this before. It's about a monk. And there's this apprentice monk, and he is now getting the opportunity to be mentored by this enlightened monk. And he's so excited. And so he goes to meet with this monk and he says, "Oh my gosh, I'm so excited. It's incredible. I can't wait to work with you. I can't wait. I've read everything or listened to everything that you've done. And I'm just so excited. And there's so much going on." And the enlightened monk says, "Would you like a cup of tea?" And the guy's like, "Oh my God, that would be amazing. Yeah, I would love a cup of tea. Oh my gosh. Yeah, absolutely." He's like, "Have a seat." So the apprentice monk sits down and he's antsy and he's like kind of moving around in his chair. And the monk places 2 saucers on the table. And then he places 2 cups on the table. And then he takes the teapot and he pours very slowly into the apprentice monk's teacup. And as he's pouring, you can see the tea filling, and it fills halfway, 3/4, all the way to the top. And then it starts splashing over onto the saucer, and then onto the table. And then it gets on the young monk and he jumps up and he's like, "What are you doing? The teacup is full." And he said, "Exactly. I can't add anything to a full cup, and you're already full. So what we're going to do is we're going to create some space for you." And I'm really excited about this. This is something that I absolutely love. And it's what I love. Oh, actually, what's really interesting, we all are clear that we organize our homes, right? We organize our spaces. We have all of that going on. But when was the last time you organized your mind? If you're like most of my clients, it's like never, or maybe when a trauma happens or something, then you have to like take stock. But most people don't have a practice of organizing or clearing their mind. So that's what this tool is going to be. So what I want you to be able to do is get a pen and paper so you can follow along. So when you have too many open cycles, we talked about this, you don't have the capacity to take on anything else. You can't be present with people that are around because your mind is always occupied by something going on. So what we're going to do is we're going to make a list. And what we're going to do, now there's 2 types of people. There's physical people and there's digital people. Now, physical people, if you look around your environment and you have tons of papers everywhere, and you have piles of paper, you're probably a physical person. But if you default to technology where you would rather use an app or put it in a list on your iPad or your phone or your computer, then you're probably a digital person. So you're going to make this list either on paper if you're physical, or on the computer, or your digital technology if you're digital. And what you're going to do is you're going to write down how many open cycles you have. So let's have a look. What are things that are pending? What do you have to do? What do you have to get done, before Thanksgiving? Do you have people coming in to visit? Do you have to get your house ready? Do you have to go shopping? Do you have to coordinate where people are coming in? Like we have family coming in. We had to set up where they're going to be staying, make sure that they have transportation. What about with work? What do you have left to get done this week? Do you have people that you're waiting on callbacks from? Do you have people that you need to follow up with? Is there something that is pending that people are waiting on for you to deliver? Is there a project that needs to be attended to? I want you to think about that. Maybe there's an appointment you have to make, or a follow-up call, or maybe you have to drop off your dry cleaning or pick something up, whatever it is. I want you to just make a list and dump it down in no particular order. So I want you to really just write them down, every little thing that you can think of. If it's like, oh my gosh, I have to order more dog food, or I have to clean up the garage, or whatever it is for you. I want you to really be able to take time and do this. Now, if you're driving, I want you to you can follow along briefly and take a mental list. But when you get home, I really want you to focus on this, because this is how you're going to reduce your stress. Like all of a sudden, once you get this out of your head, you can start breathing a sigh of relief. All of a sudden, there's more space available. Now, the trick is once you get this out of your head, you're going to feel like, oh my gosh, I can breathe. I've got space. What happens to people if they don't do the next step is that they'll fill their cup back up again. And now you have twice as many things. So once you have that list all written down, and really take a look at like, what are those things, and go do this process until you feel like you're empty, like you can't come up with one more thing. Really focus on emptying your cup. You will feel the best you felt. Then what I want you to do is look down that list and say, what are the things that I must get done? Not the things I'd like to get done, but the things that must get done, that there's going to be a consequence if I don't get this handled, right? So it has to be those, some people call them urgent, but this is a must do, something that has a consequence. So if I don't book the hotel, then our guests have nowhere to stay. Okay, that's a consequence. So highlight the things that are must do's. And you want to keep that really generally no more than like 5 to 7 max, but you really want to, what are the must do's, and highlight those. Then on the rest of your list, I want you to look through that list and what are things that you can decommit to. So really just what can you just take off and say, oh, I really don't need to do that. That was kind of like, oh, it'd be nice if it happened. Cross off anything that you possibly can, get rid of the clutter, and then take another different highlighter and put the things that you'd like to do, right? So it's not a must do. It doesn't have a consequence to it, but it's something you'd like to get done. Like I'd like to drop off my dry cleaning, but maybe there's a consequence. If you don't have clothes for work, then that's a consequence. So it'd be a must do. So what I want you to do is highlight in one color your must do's and in another color your like to do's. And then what I want you to do is calendar in your must-dos when you're going to get those done. And here's the trick. If you focus on getting your must-dos done, those are the things that cannot wait. As soon as you complete those, then you can go back to the like-to-dos and pick 5 to 7 more and then do those. And what you'll notice is not only will you start accomplishing the things that really matter, but you're not going to be weighted down by a bunch of miscellaneous items. You're really going to focus on what must be done to get a result. And that's going to start freeing you up. It's going to start having you spend the time doing the things that matter most. Then if there's other things on there, you can put them on a wish list. Like maybe, okay, I'm not going to get to them this year. Let me put them on a wish list for next year. We can have a look at them later. So this is the biggest thing. I mean, if you apply this, it's going to transform your life. Then incorporate this as a weekly practice that every week you go down and you write everything that's open, everything that's pending. Maybe you took a course or you want to read that book or whatever it is. Write it all out. Pick the things you must do, get those done, and then keep pulling from that list. And what will happen is you'll notice your anxiety, your fear, your tension, all of that will start to reduce. And all of those are insidious. They block your ability to perform. So this is really exciting. This one thing I really want to share. It's transformed many of my clients. It's a great tool, and you are going to notice and have such a great time with this. We're about to head to commercials, so stay tuned. I have another process. So once we empty your cup, now we have to focus on what's next. Stay tuned. You're not going to want to miss it, and we'll see you in a couple minutes.
This is the Tan Talk Radio Network.
Did you know that almost all skincare products have ingredients in them that actually harm your skin? This extends shelf life. It gets worse. There are 10 ingredients in skincare products that are banned across Europe. I got really upset when I started researching why my skin was getting worse no matter what I did. So I created my own skincare without any of the nasties, and it worked. My skin is glowing fresh and young like never before. So if you want actual results using 100% natural skin, visit formulaflawless.com.
Are you hoping to grow your business but not sure how? Has your business flattened out? It may be your messaging. This is Maureen Famiana with MEF Media. I've been in the TV broadcasting business for more than 30 years, and I enjoy helping businesses and entrepreneurs go to the next level. It's about strategy and branding, finding the right story to tell, and then getting media exposure. I'm here to help you grow your business. Find me on Facebook or my website at MEF Media, and let's launch your next chapter today.
The Republic of Pinellas every Wednesday afternoon at 4 o'clock on WTAN, Tan Talk Network, 1340 AM, 106.1 FM. Whether our topic is Donald Trump and the future of the greatest president of the past century, in my humble opinion, whether it's education, whether it is term limits, you'll hear about it here on the Republic of Pinellas on Tan Talk Network.
Hey, come here. Are you having a hard time connecting your business? We found a simple, easy way for you to connect, engage, and refer other business professionals and have professionals refer your business. It begins with 3 letters, and those 3 letters are
IRGA.
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 So, what is RGA? It's a really great alternative to in-person networking meetings that's a revenue-generating activity. We invite you to connect your business with the most remarkable professionals in your area. Connect, exchange ideas, and refer at rganetwork.net. No masks required.
IGA.
Don't turn it off now. You need this stuff. Tampa Bay's Tan Talk Radio Network.
Welcome back to Clarity Corner with Christiana. So great to have you tuning in and staying tuned. For those of you who just joined, we are talking about how are you handling finishing strong this year. We just covered how to be able to organize your mind by emptying it so you can create space, so you can get rid of all the clutter that's blocking your way to be able to complete the year in a strong way. So go back and listen to that if you missed it. So what's the next step? The next step is really understanding, who are we? I've said this before, and it's been a motto in my business forever, which is you are the solution that you're looking for. Now, it's really important to understand what makes sense to you doesn't make sense to somebody else. I mean, seriously, the way that I've seen more people in my organizing career, I'll go in and I'll work and I'll organize somebody's space, and they've already worked with a professional organizer, and they bring somebody in, and that person organizes the space in a way that makes sense for them. And now the person who hired them can't find anything. And now they're handcuffed to the person that they just paid for a one-time job because they have no idea how to find what they're looking for. And they're generally often in a worse condition than they were before. So what we want to be able to do is shine a light and have you see who you are, have a look. And there's no good or bad or right or wrong in this viewpoint. It's just a matter of really being willing to look at where you are, what are your tendencies, what do you like, what are your values, and how do I set up a system, or how do you set up a system that's reflective based on what makes sense to your brain? Because you are the answer you've been looking for. So let's dive in. First, who are we? Well, I had already talked to you about, there's 2 kinds of people. There's a physical person or a digital person. So when you're looking at your space, do you have a lot of paper around? Or is it mostly technology? You have lots of computers or tech little things everywhere. Are you someone that if you're reading a book, do you prefer to read the physical book, or do you prefer a Kindle because you can take 200 books with you? These are really important clues to understand how to set up your space. I remember early on in my career, I was interviewed by the radio show Business Rockstars and Ken Rakowski. And he said, because I was on the radio, it was my first time on the radio, and he said, well, how are you going to organize me? And I said, well, what do you mean? And he's like, well, you're an organizer, organize me. And I said, okay, well, tell me something that you do. And he says, well, I have all these guests on my show. And I said, okay, well, what do you do? He said, well, each of these guests generally writes a book. So I have to read all these books. And I said, well, how many books are you reading? And he had this big pile of books by his bed. And we're just talking in the studio. So this is totally off the cuff at the time. And I said, well, how many books can you effectively read in a week? And I think it was, oh gosh, I can't even remember the numbers exactly, but let's just say it was 12 total for the month, or 4 per week. Well, if he's reading 4 books a week, 12 per month, I said, okay, well then you should have no more than 12 books by the side of your bed, because anything beyond that is something that you absolutely can't do. It's going to keep you in a degree of failure. So get really clear on, if you can only read 4 books a week, what are the 4 books that you're committing to? And then what are your 12 books per month? And then that way you can keep cycling them. What happens is we get all these books and you fall behind, and then it ends up working against you instead of working for you. So that's what we're going to be focusing on with you today. So what is your style? What are you like? What are your values? So let's have a look. Are you someone that likes to sit behind a desk, or do you prefer to be on the move, up and going? Or are you more an entrepreneur, or you prefer to be an employee and know that you have a paycheck, something steady? Are you a people person? You love to be out working with people, or would you rather be in the background, kind of away from the people and just doing the work behind the scenes? Are you someone who, let's say, do you like risk? Right? Does that excite you versus someone who is risk averse and sets up their life to avoid risk? Are you someone that wants all the information, do all the research, or do you just bottom line want to know what you need to know so you can go and take action? Or are you somebody that would rather work in the office or out of the office? These are important distinctions to have because they're going to start leading for clues. So are you somebody that loves to have resources and documentation? Are you someone that's super logical? Do you like to make sure that you have enough information where you can feel like you're an expert, you know your information? Okay, that's really important. That person is going to structure their environment differently than someone who's really more about wanting to be part of a team, want to be part of volunteering, someone who wants to have more focus on relationships, and maybe they're more into personal growth. Well, that person's going to set up their environment differently. They're going to want something that's probably more warm and inviting. The person who's super into technology is maybe going to want something more sterile, more components or computers or technology around them. So you can picture in your mind, you can have a gamer who has all these like game boards and computers in front of them. And then you can picture the other person that's very into relationships that maybe has like a lot of books and a very warm environment. That's going to be different. I have one client who is a nurturing personality type, and she's been a writer for a TV show, and her environment is set up in a way where there's tchotchkes everywhere. Now, that's something that doesn't work for me, but as a writer, it's all about stimulating creativity, coming up with ideas, and her environment is a resource of she can look at something and then that just sends her off on a path to be able to write something. So that's incredible. I had another writer that I was working with that had the opposite reaction. He wanted to have a very clean space that he worked with. So not too much was out, maybe a couple things, but a much cleaner, organized environment. So again, it really comes down to that personal preference and understanding. So it's super important to know what we value because that's what guides our decision-making behavior. So if we can identify our values, that'll help us make better decisions. So how do you go about identifying what your values are? I know I've done these exercises. I actually have taken courses and they say, what are your values? And sometimes it's hard to see. And I like the story that my friend said. He said, what does the fish know about the water? And that's it. We're so steeped in who we are. Oftentimes we lose that ability to see what's natural to us. If it's something that if I naturally go left every time, I'm not going to see it as something separate. So there's a concept and distinction that I teach called micro macro. Now, micro is think of like an employee in a job. And if something goes wrong, it could be devastating to that employee. But for the CEO, if something goes wrong in that employee's job, it's not as important because he's looking at the entire company. He has that distance. He or she has that distance. So that's what this does. So what I'm going to offer you is a value-based personality assessment. So you can get a pen and paper and write this down. You can go to crackmycode.com/clarity. Again, crackmycode.com/clarity. And what that's going to do is it's going to give you a free personality report, but it's all based on values. And what we're looking for, since what does the fish know about the water? We're looking for things where as you read it, you're like, oh, yes, that's exactly important to me. And what it will do is it'll help you identify your values if you don't have clarity in that area. Next, what we're going to do is I want you to think. So first, we have to understand what our values are. You can write down what you think they are, then get that report and compare notes and see what matters. Then also, I want you to think of a time when you were successful, when you just hit it out of the park. And this exercise is particularly important because I want you to think about what was it that made this successful? What were the pieces? So for instance, I'll give, I have an example of a woman, I'm going to call her Sally, and she was incredibly knowledgeable. She had so much information. She had a big picture of what was possible for this company. And she loved innovating and creating new things. And she was absolutely brilliant. She took this company and she doubled it. And she was brilliant because she had this big idea and she would farm out what the actions were to her team, and then they would get them done. And so she had this amazing sense of accomplishment where she's doubled this company. And at the same point, when she went out on her own, she ran into a lot of roadblocks. Why? Because she had the big picture vision, which was great. She could see what needed to be done, but she didn't have the team in place. So her big aha was, oh, wait a second, I need my team in place to do the things I don't love to do. So that way I can get the same kind of results that I was having before, or at least in that regard. So I want you to write down, what was the time you were successful? What were the characteristics of it? And then that way you can start seeing those as guardrails of how you're setting up your business, your goals, making sure that you have these things in place that they align, right? Just with what we were talking about before, if you're a physical or digital person, if you are on the move or behind a desk, all these things, knowing these different aspects of yourself, in addition to when you were successful, why was it successful? Now that's going to open up amazing doors for you. I have another woman who is brilliant at bringing groups together, and she went to a training and fell in love with this training. And by going to this training, she was actually able to become a millionaire. And what she did is she fell in love with it so much, and it made such an impact for her. And she has this huge passion of bringing other people along, and she loves creating groups and teams. And what she was able to do is she brought all these people together and she created communities. And what were the aspects of it? She found something she loved. She wasn't the one doing the training. The training was already established. All she had to do was bring people and create community and do she would get these Airbnb houses and have everyone stay together and created these amazing communities. And so she just did the facilitation. She was holding the intention. She was bringing people. She was opening them up to a new possibility and creating a mastermind space where everybody could grow and expand. So again, when it comes to success, it's like, what are those components? Being able to strip those out so you can identify them. All right. So that is super important because success leaves clues, right? I want you to also be able to really have a look at, just because something makes sense to you, it doesn't mean that it makes sense to somebody else. And what we want to be able to do with you is to be able to have you identify when you were successful. And then the other part too is identify who you are and what your likes and dislikes are, so you can create a space. So when you go back and you look, did you achieve your goals for this year? If the answer's no or not yet, see if you're out of alignment. Maybe you took on a goal that wasn't in alignment with who you are, but it sounded good because it could get you a result. Or maybe it didn't have the aspects of things that were from successful in the past. So I want you to just have a look at that, because it's not about creating judgment. It's just about being able to have a look. And once you can look at it, all of a sudden things will open up. When I remember one time I wanted to get on stage, and I have a love of personal development. I think it's amazing. I'm absolutely a fan. I've been in it my whole life. My parents started, oh my gosh, back when I was 8 years old, they got into Amway and they brought me to all the dream weekends. And so they ruined me for like a normal job. And, and then I fell in love with this company called Peak Potentials. I went there and I was in a really bad place in my life. And going through these trainings, I was able to reclaim my life and get into a really good space. What I fell in love with too is I saw people on stage training and I said, oh my God, I want to be on stage training. Now I had gotten the training, but I hadn't had the courage to step up and do it. And all of a sudden I had like a moment of clarity where I was like, wait a second. If I'm just doing the assistant training part where I'm getting people up and excited and I can just really open them up to a new possibility, that's my gift. That's where I excel. Once I realized that's the piece I wanted to be doing as my entry point into personal development, I was on stage within 10 days because one, I had a very clear goal. I was able to identify what I wanted to do. I went in, I started modeling people that were already doing it. I had people write referrals for me. I went through and I just said, oh my gosh. And because I was so persistent and I happened to come in at a time when there was an opening, all of a sudden they were like, wow, she's so committed and on force. In 10 days, I was on stage. And that ended up lasting 9 years. So there's an example that I love that is when you're clear, I'm all about clarity. So when you're clear and you can place an order. So think about going through the drive-through. We've all done that. When you go through the drive-through, the first thing you do is you pull up to a box and you see a menu and you have to choose what you want. And you say, okay, I want a burger and fries and a Coke. Now I don't eat that, but you get burger and fries and a Coke or whatever. And then what you do is you have to then move forward. So you've taken action, you have to pull up to the window. Then you have to exchange something for it. You have to give something, meaning your effort, your time, whatever that is, investment. You have to give something and then they give it back to you. But you still have to reach out and take it. And that's what this is about, is just being able to really identify what these incredible pieces are. So that way, you know who you are, get the report, go back and get crackmycode.com/clarity. Takes less than 90 seconds. It's super fast. And then write these times when you were successful. These two things, don't underestimate the power of it. What it will do is it will set you free and you'll be able to see why things haven't been working. Next, when we come back from break, what we're going to do is we're going to go over why you haven't been achieving your goals, what's been getting in the way, and how you only have essentially 4 productive weeks left before the end of the year. If you take out the week of Thanksgiving and you take out the week between Christmas and New Year's, all of a sudden there's 4 weeks and 2 working days left before the end of the year. So stay tuned. I'm going to show you how to maximize that and get results. So we'll be back in just a minute.
This is the Tan Talk Radio Network.
Hey, come here. Are you having a hard time connecting your business? You know, we found a simple, easy way for you to connect, engage, and refer other business professionals and have professionals refer your business. It begins with 3 letters, and those 3 letters are
IRGA.
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 So, what is RGA? It's a really great alternative to in-person networking meetings that's a revenue-generating activity. We invite you to connect your business with the most remarkable professionals in your area. Connect, exchange ideas, and refer at rganetwork.net. No masks required.
IGA.
Are you a writer, inventor? Do you have questions about your intellectual property rights? Well, tune in every Tuesday and Thursday morning at 11 o'clock for Joy on Paper. Once a month, I will have a special guest, the writer's legal eagle, Bill Larson of Larson & Larson, who can answer your questions. Protect your valuable work. Email me your questions to patsy.radio@gmail.com and then listen in every Tuesday and Thursday at 11 a.m. right here on Tampa Bay's Tan Talk Radio Network. That's patsy.radio@gmail.com.
Are you hoping to grow your business but not sure how? Has your business flattened out? It may be your messaging. This is Maureen Famiana with MEF Media. I've been in the TV broadcasting business for more than 30 years, and I enjoy helping businesses and entrepreneurs go to the next level. It's about strategy and branding, finding the right story to tell, and then getting media exposure. I'm here to help you grow your business. Find me on Facebook or my website at MEF Media, and let's launch your next chapter today.
Did you know that almost all skincare products have ingredients in them that actually harm your skin? This extends shelf life. It gets worse. There are 10 ingredients in skincare products that are banned across Europe. I got really upset when I started researching why my skin was getting worse no matter what I did. So I created my own skincare without any of the nasties, and it worked. My skin is glowing fresh and young like never before. So if you want actual results using 100% natural skin, visit formulaflawless.com.
Don't turn it off now. You need this stuff. Tampa Bay's Tan Talk Radio Network.
Hey everyone, welcome back to Clarity Corner with Christiana. So great to have you join me today. We've already talked about how to finish the year strong. How do we create more space in our mind? How do we know who we are so we can start setting ourselves up for success? And now we're going to cover what's been in the way. You can follow me on Facebook at The Clarity Strategist. You can also go to Tan Talk Network and come back to any of these podcasts there. Just search under podcast and Clarity Corner with Christiana. And if you have any questions on what we're doing, go ahead and call in, and the number is 727-441-3000. If you have any questions, go ahead and call in. And in the meantime, let's focus on what's been getting in the way. So let's look. So if you haven't achieved your goal so far this year, what's gotten in the way? Has it been not having a system or a structure that you can lean on? Or maybe it's disorganization. You know, what about maybe it's lack of clarity? You can't see your goal clearly, so therefore you're having a hard time moving towards it. Maybe it's time management. You're an overcommitter, or you don't stick to your schedule. And then what happens is you end up not being able to get the results that you're looking for. Or maybe you're doing all of that, but your sales aren't where you want them to be. Or maybe you're not getting the kind of results or the connection or the relationships with your clients that you want. And it's really coming down to be able to communicate clearly. So let's have a look. I want you to take out your list again, and I want you to write down what's not working. Is it not having a system? Is it disorganization? What is it? Is it lack of clarity? I want you to just get really clear and get really honest with yourself. What is in the way? Because once you see it, we can handle it. Next, and I have a really big gift for you. This is going to be amazing. So once you have a look at this, you're not going to be left in the dust. You're going to be able to get support to move through this. That's my intention with you. So what's not working? Maybe you don't have that system or structure. Maybe you have a great idea of, okay, I set my schedule, but I have so many interruptions and distractions, I can't maintain it. Or maybe, I'm doing all the right things, but, I just somehow people aren't, whatever it is, maybe they're not signing up, or maybe I'm not closing a sale, or maybe I'm just not getting the enrollment or the engagement that I'm looking for. Whatever it is, write it down. Okay. Then what I want you to do, take a couple minutes and write that down. What's going on? Really identify it. The more you can look at it, the more you can see it, the more you can change it, right? Whatever we don't look at controls us. Whatever we look at, we can now control. So I want you to then look at, what are you doing that's working? I mean, oftentimes we spend way too much time focused on the obstacles and the challenges, right? What is working? This is really important. Now, it can be, people say, well, nothing's working. I've gotten that from my clients a lot. And that's not necessarily true. There's always something that's working. Like I had a photographer that I was working with, and she had such a challenge in her office. Like she had no structure. It was really bad. And I said, well, something has to be working. Well, when we really took a deeper look into it, she had her photos organized perfectly on digital. She had an amazing digital system set up that made perfect sense to her. So she had the skill, she just wasn't using it in her office. So the point of this is we have to start looking at what's working so we can take what is working and overlay it onto what's not working, so we can because you already have the skills, we just have to put them in a way that makes sense for you, that you can have another part of your life work in the same way. So what is that? I had, let's see, that one and that one. Okay, I'm looking at my stories. I was going to tell you. I also had a client who put all of her mail into paper bags and stuck them in the closet. So she had like months of mail by the time I got to her. We had bags and bags and bags of back mail. But what she did do is before she put the bags in the closet, she would throw away all the junk mail. So the only things that were left were things that weren't necessarily junk, like, those flyers or like the store coupons or what's on sale or those, I don't know, those little like half-page flyers or quarter-page flyers of like, hey, your house is for sale or things like that. She'd throw all those away. So she had a system where she put a trash can right by the front door. She threw all that stuff away, but she would get anxious because she didn't have a structure to put the mail in. So the mail got backed up in the closet. So once we identified what her structure was, then the mail didn't get backed up in the closet anymore because now she had a place to put it. So anything that's backing up is just a symptom of, okay, is it this or is it the next step? So again, all of these things leave clues, and it's so powerful. Once you take a look, all of a sudden you can get a result and you can find a solution, and you are that solution. So we want to go back and we want to look at what's working. We already did that. So what's not working, what's working, and then what's your outcome, right? We essentially have 4 weeks left in this year. So is it realistic based on the goals that you already have set up? Can you accomplish those before the end of the year? At this point, it may not be realistic to do that. So let's go back and revise. What is it that must get done before Thanksgiving? Or what must get done before the end of the year? And get really clear on what that is. Because if you pick one thing to focus on and complete it, now you can move forward. So again, it really is about turning your vision. So what is your outcome? What is the thing that you want to succeed at? And if there's goals that you haven't achieved, I invite you to decommit. Now, it sounds a bit silly, but it really does make a difference. If you decommit and just say, okay, I'm no longer going to do this. I decommit from doing this. Now you haven't broken an agreement with yourself. Now you're not lying to yourself or saying, I'm going to do something and then you're not following through. You're just choosing to say, okay, not now. I choose that I'm no longer going to do this right now. What I am going to focus on is this one thing, and then get really clear on what that is. Okay. Then what we're going to do. So again, we're doing just a list of what's working, what's not working. So all of this again is just emptying your brain. Once we get all this stuff out of your head, we can empty it, get it out of the way. So now you're creating space. It's almost like, think of all these things as a traffic jam that's in your way, and all these cars are in your way. And as you keep identifying them and you take the time to just do this stuff, it's emptying your brain. So it's clearing the road. So it's making a pathway for you to be able to drive forward powerfully through the end of the year and do it in a way where you feel good about it. So then what we're going to do is I want you to think about, like I said, we spend so much time focusing on what's not working or the challenges or where things are getting stressed out. What we have to do is get you in the right condition to be able to succeed. And I talked about this on the first episode that I did, which is, are you a glass half full or a glass half empty kind of person? So if you're a glass half full kind of person, you see possibility, you see a way forward, you're looking at all the things that are working, and you spend more time on solutions than you do on problems. If you're a glass half empty kind of person, all it means is that you're putting more attention on the problems, so they get bigger and they tend to get stuck and you get blocked. That's all it is. It doesn't mean it's good or bad, right or wrong, none of that. What it does, it means that all we're going to do with this exercise that I'm going to give you here, you're going to pick your one thing, and then we're going to get you back into creation. Oftentimes we look to what's going on in the world and we say, can I do this? And we look around us to see if there's evidence that we can do it. Actually, what we're doing is we're creating, we're choosing, we're building, we're doing something. So I'm going to get you back into your creative side. So what I want you to do is, you've got the one thing that you're focusing on. I want you to take a page now, and it doesn't even have to be realistic. It could be silly. It doesn't matter. I want you to come up with all the ideas that you have on how this can get completed before the end of the year. It could be like $1 million drops out of a plane driving over the head, or, when I'm wearing a blue shirt, suddenly it works. It doesn't even matter. So it's not the quantity of it, but it's just creative solutions. So I want you to just get a piece of paper and say, so for instance, let's say I'm whatever your goal is. Let's say, I don't know, I'm going to close $50,000 before the end of the year or whatever it is. I'm making it up. So what you want to do is go, what are all the different ways I can do that? And you just come up with ideas. Oh, well, I could do a podcast. I could do a Zoom call. I could meet with other influencers. And just come up with ideas. Hey, if I color my hair, whatever, it doesn't even matter. Just come up with random ideas and just do that until you get into a flow. And you'll feel it. Like all of a sudden you'll just be like, it'll be like silly. Like when you were a kid, you'll be like, oh my gosh. Then all of a sudden what will happen is real ideas will pop out that you weren't even thinking about. And then it's actually a way to access the right side of your brain. So just get in there and just write a bunch of ideas down. No particular order. Doesn't even have to make sense, but do that. And then what you're getting back into is your creative side. And then what I want you to do with that is then you can break it down and say, okay, what needs to get done? So then you can go into strategy after you have these list of ideas, because now you're in an empowered place to be able to complete. So I gave you a lot in this episode. I want you to be able to understand that it's really about removing things instead of adding things, because all those things that you have open, everything that you're doing is pulling your attention. It's like, if you see a piece of paper, if you have a dot on a piece of paper and you draw an arrow from that dot straight up, right? So the energy is going forward. Then you have an arrow going off to the left, and then an arrow going off to the right, and then one in between the left and the top, and one in between the right and the top. And you see how this one dot and all these arrows are going in different directions. Well, if we only have 100 units of energy, we can't attack all those different things that are so scattered. So what we're doing with that is we're honing your focus. So all we did is we identified what all those scattered pieces are in this episode. And now what we're doing is you're at the bottom, you're a dot on a piece of paper at the bottom. Now we've identified a dot where you're going. So think about it. If you're on a map, right, you're going to go from LA to New York. You need to know where LA is and you need to know where New York is. So now what we're doing is we're saying, okay, now let's go there. So we draw an arrow to our destination, which is whatever your outcome is. Then you can start seeing what are all the other actions that you have going on in your life that can lead to the same place. So that way, now all your energy is moving in the same direction. I don't know if that translates on radio. I hope that does. But it's a beautiful, beautiful image, because that's what happens when we're spent and we're scattered. We disperse our energy too much. So now that we've identified where we're going to go, now we can say, okay, what has to happen in order for us to get there? Now, here's the gift for today. I have a few 30-minute slots available. If you want to be able to have me help you with this, that's what I'm here for. My goal is I want this to be a relationship. So however I can serve you, I'm offering up 30-minute clarity sessions. If you want help with designing how to be able to finish quickly and finish powerfully, go to claritymapping.com. Go to claritymapping.com. That's CLARITYMAPPING. claritymapping.com. And right on the front page, it says book a consultation. It's free. It's me serving you and helping you get clarity to move towards your goal. So again, come back to this episode, bookmark it. These are great tools to be able to help you clear the path to get to where you want to go. So now, in the last few minutes, let's talk about a way where you can map it out. One of the things that I love is Post-it notes. All you need is a blank wall or a window and Post-it notes. And this is the easiest way to map. Just get the little ones. And what you could do is you write, okay, here's my goal. I'm going to do X. And in order to do X, I need to do 1, 2, 3. So let's just do Thanksgiving dinner, right? So if I'm going to have a Thanksgiving dinner, right, we'll give you something that's actually tangible. So we had Thanksgiving dinner. So what has to happen? Well, one, we need to have food. So that's going to be one Post-it note. Another is the guests is another Post-it note. And another thing might be say what? So we have food, guests, maybe we have entertainment. Okay. So we have food, guests, entertainment. With guests, maybe under guests, we have to talk about, who are we inviting? So you have invites. So are you sending out the invitations? And then maybe under guests is, what are they going to bring? So maybe they're going to bring something. If they're going to bring something, we want to know. Also under food, we have the turkey, or maybe, I have Filipino family that I married into. So we have a wonderful, amazing other items for Christmas or for Thanksgiving. So what kind of food are you going to have? And you can have the different types of food. Is there anything you're going to order? Is somebody going to bring something? So you can start laying this down. If you have entertainment, maybe you have travel, right? Is someone going to be traveling? Does somebody need to have a ride? But I want you to all you're going to do is just take Post-it notes up and throw every idea that you have, dump them all on the wall. And then you're going to start sorting them under categories. This is really easy because you're not stuck in any document. You can move things around pretty easily. So you pick your one goal that you have left for the end of the year. You're going to pick out what are the 3 or 4 major components of achieving that goal up to that. And then what you're going to do is you're going to, from there, you're going to what are all the pieces that need to happen? Then you have all of that. And then you have little benchmarks, and every day you can keep moving towards that goal. Also, once you have that mapped out, then all of a sudden you can enroll other people into helping you achieve that goal. But if you don't have clarity on that, so what we want to focus on is using Post-it notes. What is your goal? What is your goal that you have? And then from there, what are the components? Just throw up all the ideas that you have about it, the realistic ones, not the one just to get you in the great mindset. And then from there, now you can start organizing it under which branch that they go under. And again, I'm here to serve and help you. If you have any questions, that's what I'm here for. So make a point of reaching out, going to claritymapping.com. Again, go to claritymapping.com, book a 30-minute consultation. I'll help you. Walk you through that. And again, today we covered a lot, but all of it is about emptying your bucket, emptying your brain. And the more you empty your brain, the more momentum, the more energy you'll have to finish the year strong. And that is an incredibly powerful tool. Please don't underestimate the value of it. My goal is to have you have a fabulous, amazing Thanksgiving. Be sure to check out Clarity Corner with Christiana every Wednesday at 5 p.m. Thank you so much for tuning in and coming along on the journey. Join me as we continue to uncover what's clouding your vision and holding you back from communicating and thinking clearly. We'll get rid of the clutter that's blocking your success. It's not what you know, it's what you implement that makes all the difference. Guys, have a great day. Make sure to go to claritymapping.com, book a consultation, and I will see you next week. Have a great weekend.
WTAN Clearwater,
FM 106.1,
WDCF Dade City,
FM 102.3,
WZHR Zephyr Hills,
FM 104.3.
Listen.
This is CBS News on the Hour, sponsored by Dell Small Business.
I'm Matt Piper in New York. With about a month and a half until the holidays, President Biden promises that supply chain issues plaguing the country won't be so bad in the coming weeks. Speaking at a Baltimore port, he says not only did U.S. ports offer to work 24/7 to help with the flow, but so did these companies.
I spoke with the CEOs of the major retailers, Walmart, Target, and the leading freight movers, FedEx and UPS. They assured me that the shelves will be stocked in stores this holiday because they signed on a 24/7 as well.
His words come on the same day we learned inflation last month jumped 6.2%. That's the biggest monthly rise